So we are continuing on with part 2 of our building blocks of geometry vocabulary. And so we should be on the back side of our foldable. We should have it all flattened out so it looks like my screen. And we're going to continue at the top left. So our next word is opposite rays. And opposite rays are two rays with a common endpoint that extend in opposite directions and form a line. So they have to extend in those two opposite directions, and that's what makes them actually form a line. I'll show you a diagram of that when we get to the inside of our foldable. Next we have angle, and an angle is also made up of two rays with a common endpoint. However, they don't have to go in opposite directions. And that common endpoint we might remember from middle school, that's called a vertex. Next we have parallel lines. Parallel lines are two lines with the same slope and they do not intersect. This is something that you learned about in algebra last year. You learned about parallel and perpendicular lines and what their slopes look like on a coordinate plane. Well, remember that parallel lines have the same slope. You might guess what's coming up next. That's perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines are two lines that intersect at a right angle, and remember, right means 90 degrees. And then our last definitions are some postulates. You can just write postulate at the top on this right-hand side. We do have the postulates numbered. I am not going to expect you to remember the numbers. I just want you to remember the postulates, and they are kind of intuitive or self-explanatory. Sometimes you can draw a picture to remember what they look like, and we'll have pictures on the back. But the first postulate is through any 2 points is exactly one line. So if we have 2 points, we can draw a line between them. I can only draw one line. There's only going to be one existing line. If I draw another line, it's not going to be straight. I could like curve around and go the other way, but to really be a straight line, there's only one between 2 points. Our second postulate is if two lines intersect, they do in exactly 1 point. You could kind of demonstrate this with your arms. Cross your arms over each other and see how many times they intersect. If they're able to intersect more than once, then you'd really have to, curve them back, and then you really don't have straight lines anymore. So two lines only intersect in 1 point. Our third postulate is if two planes intersect, they do in exactly one line. If you could look at, my examples for planes earlier were ceilings and walls. If you could look at where the wall meets the ceiling and where we have that corner, yes, it does form a corner, but actually where they touch is going to be a straight line that runs along the corner of that intersection. And then our last postulate is through any 3 non-collinear points. Remember, non-collinear means not on the same line. So through any 3 non-collinear points, there is exactly one plane. I'm going to get some volunteers and demonstrate this to you guys later, but let's get to our diagrams. So you need to open your foldable so you're on the inside. You should not see any writing, so you're not going to flip it over. You're going to stay on the same side, open it up. And this is our diagram for opposite rays. So just showing two rays, the common endpoint is B right here. That's the endpoint that they share. You could do your two rays in different colors if you want to. And then I just named them. Because B is my endpoint, I have to name it first, remember, when I'm naming the rays. So this ray is called BA, and this ray is called BC. I put my ray symbol over my name, and they form the line AC, and I have my line symbol over AC. I could have also called this line CA. Remember, for a line, order doesn't matter, but for a ray, order does matter. Then we have angle. There are two different ways you can name an angle. Actually, this angle has 3 different names, but 2 different ways. So one way is to use 3 points of the angle. So you really, when you name it, you want to think about drawing the angle. If I start at one end of the angle at like point A, and actually I made a mistake there. Let me fix that. Okay, so now I have that fixed. And the reason why it was wrong, I started with O, but you're not allowed to do that when you're using 3 points. So you want to draw the angle. If I start at this side of the angle, that point is A, I go to the vertex, which is O, and I go out to the other side of the angle, which is B. So that's this name here, AOB. I can also go from the other side. I can go from B to O to A. So a lot of times when you're working on naming these angles, literally take your pencil and draw the angle and see which points you encounter in that order. Another way you can name an angle is just by the vertex, and we can name it angle O. We use an angle symbol. It looks like a less than symbol. And, you know, there's going to be different situations when you want to use 3 letters or 2 letters. If I had another angle coming off right here that also shared vertex O, then I would want to give it the 3-letter name because there's 2 angles that have the same vertex and I need to distinguish between them. So vertex is named second in the 3 letters or just using the vertex itself. Okay, for parallel lines, couple things I want you to notice in the parallel lines. So these lines are not going to intersect. They have the same slope. The way that you will have marked on a diagram for you to show you that lines are parallel is these 2 arrows. And we just draw arrows in the middle of the line, going the same direction, and that shows that the lines actually are parallel. Sometimes in diagrams lines will look parallel, but you can only assume that they are if you can prove it or if it's marked for you. So these arrows right here is how we show that lines are parallel. So I've named both my lines AB. I have the line symbol over it, MN. I have the line symbol over it. Remember, I could also say BA or NM. And the symbol for parallel is these 2 lines in the middle. So just 2 straight lines that look parallel. We always do them up and down. That means that reads parallel. So this reads line AB is parallel to line MN. Okay, and then we have perpendicular. Perpendicular lines intersect in a right angle. I have my right angle shown here with that box in the corner. And then I've named both my lines. I have line AB. I could have also named it AO. I just need 2 points on the line. I've named it AB. This upside down T means perpendicular. It looks like a perpendicular line. The reason why we don't just make it a cross like this is because then it would look like a plus sign. So we have to have a different symbol so it doesn't look like we're adding. So we just do the upside down T and then you name the other line CD. So this reads line AB is perpendicular to line CD. Okay, and now for our pictures that go with our postulates. Just showing I have 2 points AB, I can only draw one line in between. If I try to draw another line, another way to get to them, I might go around here, but that's going to end up being curved. It's not going to be straight, so only one line can be drawn. So then for our 2 lines intersecting in exactly 1 point, that intersection would be point P. There's no intersection here that I can show. If they came back and intersected again, these would not be straight lines anymore. Then we have our 2 planes intersecting, which I was talking about the ceiling and the wall. So the ceiling, right where they actually touch and they intersect is this line right here. Yeah, there's some 3D space in between them, but we're just looking at exactly where the planes touch, and that's the line. And then last picture, through any 3 non-collinear points, which we have here, point A, point B, and point C, we can have exactly 1 plane, and that would be plane R. So you should have been finishing these at home. Make sure that you have all the pictures, all the types of names in there. We are going to have that first quiz, so this is your opportunity to start off the year with an A and get 100%. So just make sure that you've taken complete notes, and if not, you can always go back through. I'll see you in class.